Hi guys, in this video you will see 5 top chess openings for white connected to e4. Let's get started. This is the bishop's opening. After pawn to e4, e5 by black, bishop to c4. There are 2 reasons for playing bishop to c4. 1. You free up f1 square so that after knight is developed, you can simply castle the king to safety in the short side. This helps in development. Secondly, the bishop is placed on c4 to attack f7 square, one of the weak link in black's camp. There are 3 most commonly played replies by black in this position, which includes knight to c6, knight to f6, bishop to c5. If knight to c6, then I can encourage you to employ pawn to c3. This is early because we want to play pawn to d4 so that we can counter the center immediately and fight for that space in the center. You can also play knight to f3 with this reason. You want to castle the king faster in the future, then allow your king to be safe as early as possible. Well, in this particular position, there is a famous mate in 4 variation after queen to h5. If knight comes out in a hurry to f6, then queen takes pawn is checkmate. If bishop to c5, then you can still prepare d4 by first playing c3. If knight to f6, going after this undefended pawn, what I like to play is queen to c2. That's an idea I love to employ. However, you can try pawn to d3 on your own to defend the pawn, or can go for aggressive pawn to d4. If pawn takes, then you push for aggressiveness also with e5, attacking the knight. If knight goes back, pawn takes pawn, attacking the bishop. If bishop goes back, then we can simply develop this knight here to this square f3, or even play knight to c3. That's a very good choice. In most cases, bishop moves to b4 with check. This gains us a tempo after we develop our knight to c3, and this is fine for us. If you compare activities between your pieces and that of black pieces, you are doing better than black pieces. So this opening is a good choice to employ or to start with as a beginner. Most advanced players would love to respond with d5 here. Take this knight, pawn takes the bishop, go with queen to h5. This is a move that attacks the bishop. So if bishop goes back home, queen to e5 check. If bishop blocks, then pawn takes pawn, attacks 2 pieces, and you can win from here. If knight to f6 directly, attacking this pawn in the center, there are silent moves you can play, like pawn to d3 or even knight to c3, defending that pawn. If you want to go aggressive, you can simply play pawn to d4, inviting black to take any of these 2 pawns. If black chooses to take this, play aggressive e5. If knight goes back, you can take the center after taking this pawn. These are minor ideas in the opening while playing the bishop opening. You can take this opening and create a deep study on your own and see how it helps you out. Let's check out the next opening. This is the 4-knight game, which happens after pawn to e4, e5. Knight to f3, attacking the pawn in the center. Knight to c6 by black, defending that pawn. Knight to c3, knight to f6. In this position, there's a fight for this square d4. You can simply continue with an idea with pawn to d4 or even bishop to b5. Well, let's look at variation in pawn to d4. If pawn to d4, pawn takes, just stick with the knight. In this position, black will love to employ pinning down this knight by developing the bishop so that the king can actually castle faster in this position. Do not panic. Take knight. If pawn takes from this side, just take the queen. If king takes, develop your bishop. In this variation, we have taken away the ability for the black king to castle. Our king is 1 step away from castling. Even if black try taking the knight, take with your pawn, and we can play our game nicely from this variation. However, if black chooses to take with this particular pawn, just develop your bishop out, holding on this pawn in the center. In the future, you will love to castle the king and mobilize your pieces. This bishop is coming out very soon to pin the knight to the queen, and the game can go well for you here. So if black castled, you can just castle and plan something else against black. So aside from pawn to d4, there's also bishop to b5. In this case, you can see that the idea is to remove this knight and grab this pawn in the center. So let's head over to the next opening. This is the Italian opening after pawn to e4, e5, knight to f3 attacking this pawn, knight to c6 defending that pawn. If bishop to c4 attacking this particular f7 square and freeing up a space for the king to castle, black can try the same approach so he can develop the knight later. This is known as the Gyoko piano opening. In this position, you will notice that the king can be castled faster after this simple move, and strategically you have developed your minor pieces, have a pawn in the center, and king is safe. I also choose to employ pushing pawn to c3 early. This is an idea I've employed in most openings because it gives me a room to execute pawn to d4 as quick as possible so as to fight for the center, because the center is as important as other sides of the chessboard. So in this position here, if black goes for d6, I can play d4, attacking the pawn and the bishop. Bishop to b6, pawn takes pawn, knight takes, pawn takes. I can simply play bishop takes, pawn check. If king takes the bishop, then queen takes queen is winning from this variation. However, if king stays down here on e7 to defend the queen, queen takes queen, king takes, I've gained a pawn just because of my opening choice. So the Gyoko pianissimo is a good choice for beginner. Just know your opening lines and know what to study. From this position, actually, there are other activities that can happen. You can choose to even play knight to c3. You are good to go. There are many transpositions that can come from the Gyoko pianissimo. So let's check out the next opening. This opening is called the Ponziani opening, which occurs after pawn to e4, e5, knight to f3 attacking this pawn, knight to c6 defending that pawn. In this position here, there is no knight coming over to c3. There is just a simple pawn to c3. This position gives us many reasons to play Gambit style, because it is clear that white wants to fight for d4 immediately. You have open line for the queen to come into the game. Then there are famous replies after knight to f6 attacking this pawn. White can simply go with pawn to d4 immediately, or pawn defending that pawn on d3. However, if you want to play the Gambit style, you can simply launch pawn to d4 as quick as possible. You know, these ideas are just simple so that you can get your feet into chess. But to play silently and peacefully, you can just play d3 defending that particular pawn. These are minor ideas in the Ponziani opening. Now let's head over to the last opening in this video. This is the Spanish opening known as the Roqqu Lopez. After pawn to e4, e5, knight to f3 attacking this pawn, knight to c6 defending that pawn. Now we can play bishop to b5. The Roqqu Lopez has many opportunities for white. In this case, there are a lot of responses that black can play from this position, among which include pawn to a6, knight to f6, bishop to c5. Let's talk about pawn to a6. Pawn to a6, you can respond by playing your bishop back to a4. Black can be aggressive and throw b5. Do not panic. Play bishop to b3, which is cool. A greedy black player wants to push further by trapping this bishop. We can simply play pawn to a4, stopping that pawn from coming to a4. If b4 comes up, then d4 is okay. If bishop to d6, take on e5. If knight takes, then bishop takes. This rook can be attacked by the queen going over to d5. Then we can also unleash a double attack with queen and bishop attacking f7. There's no defense on checkmate coming up. So in this case, if queen defends, then we can just pick up the rook, and the game can continue from here. These are ideas in this opening. So guys, I hope you've enjoyed this video. Anywhere you wish you are lost, you can ask questions. Do not forget to like this video, share to your friends, and leave a comment. See you in next video on this channel.